Before the stars were scattered across the void, before angels and multiverses dared to dream, two beings emerged, each a sovereign in a realm that bent to their will. On one side, Lucifer Morningstar, the Lightbringer. Forged by the Presence, he was the most radiant of all angels, the morning star that outshone the cosmos. His rebellion in the Silver City was not born of madness, but of principle, a refusal to be bound by a will not his own. Cast down into hell, he ruled its fires not as a prisoner, but as a king before abandoning the throne to forge his own destiny in the world of mortals. Through time, his legend whispered through theology and myth alike, not just a fallen angel, but a cosmic philosopher, a challenger of divine authority, and perhaps something more, a being who wished to create, not just destroy. On the other side, the Pre-Retcon Beyonder, not a god among mortals, but a universe unto himself. He did not emerge from the Marvel multiverse, he was beyond it, a being of absolute power from a realm incomprehensible to even the most brilliant minds of Marvel's reality. When he first glimpsed our reality, he saw limitation, individuality, and conflict, and he was curious. That curiosity led to the infamous Secret Wars, where he bent heroes and villains alike to his will, reshaping matter, thought, and even death. The Beyonder was not evil, nor good. He was alien, supreme, and utterly unshackled by mortal logic. Two sovereigns of power, two creators of rebellion, and the universe had kept them apart until now. It began as a ripple in realms both mythic and scientific. Across the metaphysical planes, strange disturbances occurred. In the DC universe, magical constructs faltered. The dreaming minds of mortals spoke of a light coming from outside creation. In the Marvel realm, cosmic entities like Eternity and the Living Tribunal trembled as their senses felt. A breach, a consciousness beyond logic reaching out. Lucifer Morningstar, now walking the earth in human form, with celestial awareness intact, felt it. A whisper in the firmament, an alien presence that was not born of any pantheon. A mind probing the very fabric of purpose, trying to understand what it meant to exist. It intrigued him and disturbed him. The Beyonder had found something he did not anticipate. A singular will powerful enough to rival his own, not in brute force alone, but in sheer defiance of narrative. Unlike the gods and mortals he once toyed with, this one did not fear death, did not seek salvation, and had no leash. The Lightbringer had abandoned all forms of cosmic control, even creation itself. He chose freedom, knowing it came at the price of isolation. The Beyonder was fascinated. Thus he manifested, not as a cosmic storm, not as an unknowable force, but in a form, a reflection of mortal understanding, so that the confrontation could be understood. A glowing man walked into Lux, the bar run by Lucifer Morningstar in the heart of Los Angeles. The world did not notice, but the planes of reality did. Lucifer smiled as the man approached. "You're not from here, or anywhere really. I am from beyond," the Beyonder said, not with pride, but with clarity. "I have seen gods make choices. I've made gods my choices, but you do not follow the rules. You abandon them." Lucifer's smile grew colder. "And you want to know why?" "I want to know if you're right. If the idea of freedom you cling to, this rebellion against imposed order, is worth unmaking everything for." Lucifer took a sip of his wine. "Then you're not here to talk. You're here to test it." The air thickened, not with power, but with meaning. Destiny turned a page in his book and found a blank one, unwritten, unmeant. Two beings outside fate's dominion had come face to face, not to rule, not to conquer, but to prove. The presence watched in silence. The one above all leaned forward ever so slightly. In this clash, theology would meet abstraction. Myth would collide with metaphysics. And the outcome would not merely affect one universe, but all of reality's potential. For in the arena of raw purpose and infinite will, only one being could stand supreme. Lucifer Morningstar, the Lightbringer who defied heaven, or the Beyonder, who once treated the multiverse as a toy. The lights of Lux dimmed, not by power outage nor by will, but by reverence. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath as two beings who needed no introductions, stood across from each other. Lucifer Morningstar casually leaning against the piano, eyes gleaming with ancient wisdom, and the Pre-Retcon Beyonder, manifested in human form, yet radiating an essence that the universe itself could not quantify. "Let us begin," the Beyonder said, not as a threat but as an invitation. Lucifer rose, brushing non-existent dust from his jacket. "You'll find I don't play by rules. Not even yours." With no gesture, no fanfare, everything shifted. In a blink, Lux was gone. They stood in a timeless void, a realm not tethered to any known dimension. The Beyonder had created a canvas outside of existence, a place where no watcher could observe, no god could interfere, a place where only they existed. Beyonder made the first move, not a punch, not a blast, but a thought. Reality twisted. Lucifer was bound in chains, forged from the mathematical structure of multiversal laws, laws that had enslaved gods, erased timelines, and rewritten destinies. Lucifer only laughed. With a tilt of his head, he convinced the chains that they had never existed. The Beyonder's eyes narrowed, his form flickering. He increased pressure, converting thought into presence, will into universal override. He reached into Lucifer's essence, attempting to deconstruct the very idea of rebellion, to snuff out the spark that made him Lucifer. But the Lightbringer smiled again, a serpent's grin. "You still don't understand, do you? You cannot break what refuses to be bound." Lucifer responded, not with raw force, but with conceptual manipulation. He twisted causality around them, turning the Beyonder's own curiosity into a feedback loop. The Beyonder, for all his power, began questioning himself, his purpose, his origin, and even his own omnipotence. The Beyonder tried to rewrite the arena again, this time into a realm where he was the only being allowed to exist. Lucifer laughed once more and whispered, "I exist because I choose to." Suddenly the Beyonder faltered. For the first time in his existence he hesitated. Lucifer exploited the crack, not by overpowering him, but by challenging his foundation. He spoke, and his voice resonated not just in the void, but across infinite dimensions. "You seek to know freedom, yet you seek to define it by control. That is not freedom. That is fear masquerading as dominance." The Beyonder's form trembled. He had unraveled universes, made eternity his footstool. And yet, in front of him stood a being that could not be dictated, rewritten or understood, because Lucifer chose not to be. Desperate, the Beyonder did the unthinkable. He unleashed his full power, collapsing the boundary between realities. Entire multiverses folded into each other. Stars screamed, gods wept. The structure of Marvel's creation convulsed. Lucifer stood still as galaxies collided around him. Then he acted. With one word, no. It wasn't magic. It wasn't force. It was will. Pure, absolute, sovereign will backed by an intellect and ego that not even omnipotence could pierce. The void stilled. The storms of power dissipated, and the Beyonder, cosmic, eternal, infinite, was brought to his knees. He looked up, confused. "I am everything. How can you?" Lucifer stepped closer, gaze piercing. "Because you are everything, but I am me." And then Lucifer did what no force had ever done. He reached into the Beyonder's essence and convinced him to limit himself. Not through force, not through power, but through philosophy, through reason. The Beyonder lowered his head. He was not defeated physically, but in the one arena that mattered, the arena of will, he had been conquered. The Lightbringer had taught a lesson even gods feared. Freedom is not the absence of boundaries. It is the power to choose them. And so, the battle ended. The Beyonder left, not out of shame, but changed. He understood now why Lucifer walked alone, why he turned his back on creation, why he refused thrones, titles, and worship. He was not bound because he couldn't control. He was free because he wouldn't. And in that, Lucifer Morningstar stood alone, not as the strongest, not as the most powerful, but as the only one the cosmos could never bind.